Today on BTG-RC, we are going to be replacing the stock plastic servo gears with metal gears in the TRX 4M 2020 Bronco due to the original gears stripping out. This is my first time doing this, so it's a learning process for me as well, and I hope this video helps make it easier for you when you eventually have to replace yours. Let's get to it. I already have the replacement gears for the servo unpacked, and along with the gears they also send you some lithium grease and this handy diagram of how the gears go into the servo motor. So we're going to start with removing the servo from the body. I'll start the screw off. I'll take the screws out. Now you can use the tools that they provided you, but I prefer the electric screwdriver because of my arthritis. So there's two screws on top. Which take the smaller Allen wrench. And then you need the slightly bigger Allen wrench with the screw down the bottom. So you might have to flex the axle away a little bit in order to get under there, but you can definitely get in there and remove the other screw, which attaches the actual servo to the steering. Alright, that should pop out at this point. Okay, so we got the servo removed. And then there is 4 Phillips screws in the bottom of the servo to take the servo apart. Phillips bit. Alright, I'm just going to do it with the servo attached. I'm not going to bother taking the servo out of the RC. I'll get them started. All right. I'm placing all these screws in a little magnetic screw holder just so I don't lose any of them. Put that bottom. Then we can pop the top off the servo and start removing the gears that are in there. Alright, you might need a flathead to pry that last one off. I'm going to check out a flathead bit over here. Yep. Alright. See, that plastic just blew out. Alright. Okay, now that we have the old gears removed, and we have this shaft put back in place, which is a keyed shaft, so you have to make sure it's aligned correctly for it to go all the way in. We can start putting in the new gears. Start off with this flat bottom guy right here, and this little guy goes on this little plastic shaft off to the side. He's in. We got this guy going right in here. Alright. This guy going right there. And then there's top gear, which attaches to the steering rack. I already inserted the little plastic keyed piece in the bottom of that, and that will key up on this other shaft. Boom. There we go. Alright. Set that right there for a second. Before you close it all up, you want to make sure you throw some lithium grease on all the gears. Make sure your seal doesn't get all messed up as well. It's going to be a little bit of a pain. Alright. Before we put it back together, I'm glad I checked. There is a little rubber gasket. I did not see a replacement in the bag, but there is the rubber gasket on your original gears. So I'm going to try to pop that off. Alright, that came off relatively easy. And then we can mark that down on the new gear. Boom. Of course my phone died while filming, but I got the gears all in properly and I got the seal back on, so we are ready to assemble. Alright. Get the cover back on. Clean out that little bit of grease. I'll get these screws back in. Just tighten them down by hand so I don't over tighten them. Okay, now that we have the servo back together, we're going to install it back in the chassis. So we're going to start by dropping the servo in and putting the 2 screws in, but not all the way, for the actual body mount, just to give the servo a little bit of play while getting the horn installed on the other side. A few turns on each. Flip her over. Actually, before we do that, we're going to grab our remote, make sure it's on, and then plug the battery in, which allows the servo to center itself and the gears all nice and centered. Then we can flip her over, center the wheels as best as possible, and get that horn onto the servo. Can be a little bit of a pain, but alright. And you can adjust it with trim after, so it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. shouldn't have to be 100% perfect. We'll get okay, we got that nice and snug. Flip her back over. Tighten these down. And we should be good to go. We have steering again. Well, I hope this video was informative. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.